Today's video, we tackle about how electromechanical hoisting brake works for provision cranes as well as engine room crane. I will do my best to show to you how it works and showing the parts and its functions. Let's go, and take a look closely, then observe this hoisting brake. The scenario is, the hoisting motor is always overload trip, when hoisting down or up. Found out that the brake is stuck up, then by opening the cover of brake, I saw that the magnetic disc coil is burned. This is the parts of the magnetic disc brake. I will disassemble each part and explain the sequence. As you can see, there is a gear. That gear is attached to the shaft of the hoisting motor. The top part is the magnetic coil. This is supplied with a DC 90 volts. This coil is burned out and melts the insulation and stucks to the gear. Next parts is the manual triggering disc. This part where you can attach the manual hand wheel to release the brake in case of emergency. Next is the brake pads, and it is attached to the gear. Then another disc. Follow with another brake pads. Then the securing disc, where all brakes are attached. This gear is attached to the shaft of hoisting motor. Then secure disc brackets to the casing of the motor, with a 4 bolts. The next part to assembled is the brake pad which attached to the gear. Then followed by a disc. Then another brake pads. As you noticed, when the hoisting motor runs, the pads are also rotates. Next is the disc with a manual release bar. The 3 disc that is alternately installed, which act as a caliper disc that holds the pads when brake is activated. This parts is also important. The spring. The 5 springs is attached to the magnetic disc or magnetic coil. This spring pushes the disc to hold the brake pads. Yes, to hold the brake pads. When the magnetic coil is supplied with 90 volt DC, that's the time the brake will release. At the top of the magnetic coil where you find the adjustment of the spring. Using Allen key. As you can see, there is a gap, which the spring is attached. Also there is a certain measurement is per manual. For correct setting for the brake. Need to load test and adjust when necessary. To make sure that the brake is working with a corresponding safe load limits. Again, the basic principle of magnetic disc brake for hoisting motor. First, when the hoisting motor is off, the brake must be activated. That spring pushes the discs to hold the brake pad. Second, the magnetic coil is to absorb or attracts the disc in order to release the brake pads. When supplying the coil with 90 volts DC, the brake pads will release. In case of emergency brake release, there is an emergency tool. called hand wheel, that is responsible for releasing the brake. The idea is, turn the hand wheel clockwise in order to press up the spring and the brake pads are loose. That's the time the hoisting motor rotates freely without brakes. This is the burned out magnetic brake. Even we manual release. Still stuck. It's because the insulation of the coil melts through the brake pads. Take a look for the actual operation after replacing new magnetic brake unit. Without cover. So, we can see the actual movement of the brake. After we test the brake and confirmed it is working, we need to secure the wire and install new connectors. Next I will show you the new parts that we installed. This is taken from engine room crane. Hoisting motor is almost the same as our provision crane. The maker of this both unit are the same. Manufacturer's name is Oriental. Thanks for your time spending with us. Please like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the bell for more updates. Also like us on Facebook, Barku TV.